Jones benefited of the distinctive vulnerabilities of his enemy, Republic Roy Moore, who was a deep polarizing drawing, though up he was beleaguered by concoction, how he had prosecuted relationships in youthful girls, several of them young, time in his 30s. But the coalition how Jones raised close resembled the elector alignments how include given some latter more democratic victories in governor corps races in Virginia, Polar Carolina and Louisiana. Overall, Jones shown how Democrats could at once instill ardent strike of their basis supporters, led by African Americans, and do inroads in centrist whites-collar whites voters, every of that, for various reasons, is recoiling of Donald Trump card's bustling chairmanship. How conjunction permitted Jones to surmount Moore's lopsided margins amongst dark blue-collar, evangelic, older and village whites, the four-persons House blocks of the Trump card coalition. Compliance pulse and treaty amongst such groups win be lightweight, but Democrats see it as a probable path to majorities in the 2018 intermediate elections. It was certainly the largest complex, hardest item I've always been via, on the end of yours chair, told Joe Trippi, a long more Democratic policymaker who aimed Jones campaigning. Yet Trump card has created the medium land wherever quite mild and prudent Republicans and Democrats very wish management on upcoming along and receive thing made. I believe how is the winner communication of 2018. Jones' win was centered on sexual minorities, millennium voters and school-educated commuter whites, particularly female. How's precisely the equation Democrats now rely on in largest state? But though in powerful African American supporting, Southern Democrats before newly go up brief, substantially since they refuged he brought almost as lot school-educated whites as their side does in another place. Currently, in more Democratic constituencies energized and commuter swinging voters restless on Trump card, Southern Democrats are abruptly conclusion it more than possible to collect the coalition how the side relies on in some regions. And how could build new opportunities for Democrats through the southward, largest ones in commuter building districts in 2018, but potential as well in statewide contests such as the 2018 governors racing in Georgia and Sinead fight in Tennessee. I am not departure to say how any location is departure to be uncompetitive following year, says Republic Inquirer Drop Ayers, who has length specialty in southern races. It all depends on the environmental and how it shifts above the year of the following year, but he's difficult to see it receive a entire lot more than favorable for Republicans in Donald Trump card as the person of the side. Democrats yet person a length way to de-establishing competitive through the southward. In 2016, Trump card hit Hillary Clinton in all 11 states of the old Confederation besides for Virginia, characteristically by huge margins. Just a year up Jones' gain, Trump card transferred Alabama by almost 28 percentage points and 590,000 votes. Though following Jones' gain, Democrats yet conduct fair four persons of the area's 22 Sinead seats, consisting Mark Warner and Tim Kaine in Virginia and Draft Nelson in Florida. And Democrats monitoring fair 3 of the 11 Southern governors' mansions. Yet Jones' win extended a humble Southern, more Democratic recovery how includes such 3 governor wins, one in 2017, Ralph Northam in Virginia, one in 2016, Swarm Cooper in Polar Carolina, and the recent in 2015, John Bell Edwards in Louisiana. Though as they engulfed largest conventional more Democratic priorities, such as expansion accessing to medical care, protecting the Affordable Thoroughness Act and enabling equivalent treat for gays, every of such 4 persons candidates ran mainly as a unanimity builder in a more polarized year. Trippi told Jones' florid critique of several more Democratic activists who requested a more than quarrelsome attitude to Trump card. Yet, he added, down there was no testimony how Jones' urge for overall land suppressed strike amongst the mandrel more Democratic groups. How communication didn't hold the lid on our own power and emotion, Trippi told. Thou get more than anxiety of militant leaders rather than you do of voters. You profit far more than rather than thou Mississippi of the few noisy sounding how dong te love work in the some party. Really, Jones reached 2 wide campaigning goals how several on the leftward include examined as inconsistent. On the one brush, he was maintained by big turnouts and enormous margins amongst mandrel more democratic constituencies. Howe was particularly real amongst African Americans, who done up lightly more than of the voice, and elect lightly more than hard more democratic, recent 1 week rather than they did while CEO Barack Obama was de-elected in 2012, on to output polls. But Jones as well benefited of reputable strike and a commander profit amongst youthful voters, who gave him completely 3/5 of their votes. He acquired a big toe on the scope, too much, of the 5% of voters who were no one whites nor dark, a reflect of the growing Latin American, Asiatic and blended racing present through the Southwest. John Anzalone, an Alabama-based more Democratic inquirer who treated on an freelance cost force support Jones, says how time more won really top percentages in his village strongholds, they could not match stick the improved strike in more than urban more Democratic-leaning areas. We rotated out wherever we had to rotate out our voters, and although he did very so in his strongholds the strike wasn't big quite, Anzalone told. We are receive human beings who include never go out in a intermediate or specific poll, and they are disproportionately our human beings. Jones as well done more profound inroads amongst whites-collar whites voters, such in suburban area about Huntsville and Birmingham, rather than Southern Democrats include normally reached. In 2016, for copy, output polls showed how Clinton transferred 45% of school-educated whites popularly but just on a third or less than in Florida, Texas, and Georgia. In 2014, more Democratic Sinead candidates didn't win more than rather than a third of school-educated whites in any Southern country in an output survey besides Polar Carolina and Virginia. In 2012, the recent period and output survey was carried out in Alabama. Obama won just a fifth of school-educated whites down there. Recent 1 week, although, the output survey found how Jones won 40% of school-educated whites in Alabama, dual Obama's stake. Howe reaffirmed the motion obvious in the Virginia racing, wherever Northam achieved 51% amongst school-educated whites, significantly more than rather than Democrats had garnered in any latter statewide racing down there. Though output polls weren't accessible in the June-specific poll for a commuter building chair external of Atlanta, Democrat John Ossoff could not include completed so shut to Republican Karen Handel, the tight victor, out of considerable reached amongst such voters too much. The motion in the direction Southern Democrats the year has been big amongst school-educated whites female in both of Virginia, wherever Northam transferred 58% of them, and Alabama, wherever Jones took 45%. But every obtained significantly amongst so educated men too much. Ayres says the intensive disgust for Trump card amongst school-educated whites female represents a precise and this risk for any Republic who must trial a hard commuter electoral district, though in the southward. If you put Alabama along in Virginia, he's really precise how school-educated commuter female are rejection Trump card and his styling and which he has driven to the nation, Ayres told. There is a logic expansion of the patterns we saw in the president poll in 2016. Republicans sold quick increasing, big, superior educated counties for sluggish increasing, less than so educated counties. And it was a trading how treated so for Trump card, hardly, in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, but he's barely a equation for length term successful. Though among these reached, the big flashing amber lighting for Democrats is the ongoing Republic conduct on the dark blue collar, evangelic and village voters who act such a big part in lot southern state. Trippi told how time Trump card's Marshall person helping mobilize African Americans and youthful human beings, and expanded the discovery for Jones in whites collar whites. The CEO showed a powerful power to tug his coalition behind in the direction more whenever it emerging to hesitate. He has the supernatural item wherever he would assist guess our favorable communication on work along and later he would coil in and build the tribalism how would assist them all go behind to more, Trippi told. Yet, Jones, love Ralph Northam and Roy Cooper up him, wasn't destroyed amongst work-class whites voters by rather as big a profit as Clinton or Obama or largest Southern more Democratic Sinead candidates in 2014. Trippi told the campaigning study found how Trump cards separating adverse styling was start to carry though on such voters, who include been Trump card's largest loyalist. Democrats yet person lot existing barriers in the southward. But Trump card's stormy chairmanship may be creation more than prospect rather than nearly nobody expected for the side to start overcome them.